There are two kinds of errors in life: the error of commission and the error of omission. The error of commission is the pain associated with failure after taking action, while the error of omission, as the name implies, is inaction. Unfortunately, majority of us focus on the error of commission, the pain associated with taking action, as opposed to the pain associated with inaction. Unfortunately, both errors have drawbacks, yet we'd rather dwell in inaction than face the error of commission. Why is this the case? And I'm going to tie this point to a larger concept. So be very patient, be very attentive, listen very carefully. Because for some of you, this is not to teach you something new. This is not to tell you something you don't already know, but this is aimed at putting things in better perspective. I've said it countless times. Your perception is everything. Your perception literally determines your life. You and I can see a flag. One might feel disgusted, the other patriotic. If we are to take action based on that perception, our results will diverge, will be vastly apart. Perception. So perception decides your destiny. Putting things in better perspective is the best thing you can ever do for yourself. It outweighs motivation, it outweighs discipline. I can guarantee you there are times in my life, yeah, I just wanted to give up. A famous example, or an example you all can relate with, is this YouTube channel. Imagine posting videos, imagine recording after 20 to 30 minutes. I recall there were times where after speaking for 30 minutes, the video is not recording. Or if it was when I was using my previous device in an environment that was very hot, the heat will hit the fucked up phone, the iPhone shuts down the video in order to recalibrate till the temperature adjusts to normal. Unknowns to me, I'm just speaking. And after the outro, I'll see you in the next one. I jump up only to be met with disappointment. I record the video again, and guess how many views I get? Zero. I want you to understand, zero views. There was no encouragement, no one viewer. You listen to various YouTube stars and people who've made money off the internet, or businessmen, they would always trace their success to that one YouTuber cheering them on, to that one guy who said, I believe in you, you can do this. There was nobody. In fact, my brother stepped in, two of my brothers stepped in to watch my content. I'll get two views, occasionally three. Check the analytics, the person clicked off after the first 10 seconds. Now that's feedback, which is a different discourse in and of itself. It's beyond the purview of tonight's teaching. But it got so bad that anytime the view count drops to one, my brother has gone back to school. And occasionally I'll get a double digit count. Anytime that happens, it's seen as a very good day to get 10 views or 12 views. I'll be excited. It was exciting, exhilarating. 12 people watched me. Whether they watched till the end is a different discourse in and of itself. Failure. Doing this day after day, being consistent. In fact, I challenge you, my viewers, go to my channel, try and start from oldest to the newest. You would see I never missed a single day. It's this video uploaded 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, 6 days ago, 7 days ago. In that manner, posting videos day after day, no motivation, no hope that this is all going to work out. How did I get through that scenario? Is by putting things in perspective, that the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. I recall this story where I invested in this business. It started when I came across this concept of burning your bridges in order to take the island. So I invested every single thing into this business. My tuition fee, my rent, every single thing. And guess what happened when my rent was due? Nothing. The landlord was at my door. Where's my money? After posting him for like 2 weeks, he came to a definite decision. My friend, if you do not give me my money, I'm going to throw you and your things out. I would so humiliate you that the onlookers would ask, did you offend this man? That was the threat. Now I'm a bit mature. I won't use the word bit. I'm mature enough to handle that kind of situation if it ever presents itself. But conversely, as a college kid who had no idea negotiation as a student in the middle of that implosion, about to give up, I got on my knees with tears in my eyes and I said, you would have to kill me than for me to give up. So I can trace there were instances in my life, the what you call the diverging road, whether you keep pursuing or you capitulate, you keep pursuing or you let life beat you. Because life will beat you. Life will beat you. And majority of you might feel inspired for 5 minutes after this little story. In fact, you're thinking back to your own situation, thinking back how you should have stayed, what story would have come up. You can tie these regrets to the error of omission, the pain that comes as a result of inaction. Unfortunately, we focus more on the error of commission, the pain that comes as a consequence of failure. However, we fail woefully to look at the alternative. It's easier to recall the event of asking a very stupid question in a meeting. What's unconventional is thinking otherwise, is thinking having never raised your hand to ask that question, is thinking having never put yourself in uncomfortable situations that afford the opportunity for growth. Majority of you always bask in the reality of that rejection, but you forget the alternative, which is never asking her out. The error of commission bruises your ego. The error of omission gnaws at your soul. It eats you up from inside. Errors, 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 errors. At the infancy of my career, I didn't come from a background that my parents are highly intellectual. I didn't come from an entrepreneurship background where every single person has information. My parents didn't say read 20 pages a day. My parents never knew anything about exercise or going to the gym. Now, I'm not trying to discredit them. I'm not trying to degrade them or say they have or they made little to no contribution as touching my success. In fact, that would be hypocrisy at the highest level. I speak highly of my father. Any podcast you find me, you always hear me make allusion to him. He made a ton of contribution to my life. But on this wise, when I came to the conclusion that this route that has been prepared for me, which is go to school, get a job, save a ton of money, change the dollars after working hard overseas, because that's the American dream, or that's the American dream for Africans. You go to school, get a degree, you manage to squeeze yourself overseas, do some bullshit 1 to 2 year program, obtain a certificate there, get a job, work 5 to 6 years, save the money, convert it to naira, and you're a billionaire. So that's like the dream here. You notice very quickly if you're overseas that most Africans, most Nigerians, people with a dark skin color work as hard as possible. And even if they are taking upon all of these night shifts, you can't seem to find where all their money is going. I'll tell you where their money is going, into savings. Savings with the hope when they come back to the country, they can convert and establish here. Because the dollar to the naira is very, very significant. Understanding that's the path that's been prepared for me, understanding the kind of person I am. I hate being in a constrained environment where you have to give me orders. My apologies. Where you have to give me orders. No. I like to carve my own path. I love to innovate and be a leader, galvanize my team, lead them to victory. That's exactly what I love. I don't want to be constrained to some desk under fluorescent light. No, I got into personal development, trying to analyze how the market works, understood what is stocks, what is the net worth, what are billionaires studying, how do they act, how do they behave. Yes, I don't know what my destiny is going to be like. I have no goals. I have no passion. I have no purpose. I have zero idea of what my life is going to look like. But one thing I do know is action beats all. Yes, at the infancy of the career, not knowing or not sustaining the requisite level of knowledge that helps optimize my action would truncate efforts. I understand, but I'm willing to take that risk. Even the Bible says it that once the axe head is blunt, prepare to dissipate energy. So once there's no knowledge steering your action, prepare to dissipate energy. If you're with a bunch of keys and you have no knowledge of the right one, if there are 100 keys there, chances are excellent you go through the 99 of them if you're very unlucky before you find the right one. And in some case, it might not be the correct bunch. So imagine if inserting one key takes a year to find out it's the wrong one. How long do you have? Yes, there's a role knowledge has to play in directing your action. But first thing you need to do is to take action. If the action you are taking is to find the right knowledge that improves your action taking, take that action. You are not alone in this world. There are people who have lived this life. There is nothing new under the sun, the Bible says. So there are people who have gone through the exact experience. There are people who started from the lowest stratum of society. You are not the only person who was abused as a kid. You're not the only person whose father left him. You're not the only person whose mother left. You're not the only person who was ridiculed as a kid. You're not the only person who grew up from poor background. There are people who have gone through twice the exact same scenario, even worse than you. Debilitating situations, people who lost limbs, people who watched their parents murdered, people whose offsprings or loved ones died in their arms as a consequence of lack of finances. And yet, they're able to stand strong, lift their head above water, and they become a success. There is no excuse. Why did I give you that charge? That charge was necessary to reveal that your situation has nothing to do with your future. Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you are right. Think about it. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you are right. If I ask you this question, if you truly believe, I mean, deep in your heart that you're going to have an accident, if you concentrate on that thought on a long enough time frame, if you feel the car crushing your bones or whatever vehicle of expression you consider, you would agree that it's only a matter of time before that experience finds fruition. Yes? Conversely, the opposite is equally as probable. But the problem with most people is they do not believe that success. They have so failed. And I do not blame you. There's a way you can fail and fail and fail and never see money such that that reality becomes very difficult for your brain to grasp. I was in that situation, never made a dollar on my own. It was very, very difficult for me to believe that one day I too can be a success. We are diverging, but the main point I wanted to highlight from that example was that 3 years down the line, after the efforts the parties missed, the women avoided, the companies avoided, every single level of consecration you can imagine invested in that goal. Guess what happened? Nothing from a financial standpoint. And unfortunately, I lost my way along the way. I began to use finances as a metric for success. So I disregarded all things like confidence, charisma, intellect, and all of those wonderful attributes and focused solely on finances. Give me a minute. Let me ensure this is still recording. Apologies for being My apologies for being very unprofessional, but sometimes I forgot to disconnect this from any access to the internet. Sometimes when notification drops in or some kind of info, it disrupts the video automatically. I just wanted to make sure that's not the case to ensure I'm not just talking to myself or motivating the universe. So back to the discourse. After years of effort with no result, I said to myself, I was frustrated, angry, I felt robbed, I felt betrayed that after every single thing I've done, there's nothing to show for it. How wrong was I? Once I perceived the situation through the lens of the error of commission and the error of omission. So the error of commission, all those things I set out to be, intelligent, refine my communication, charismatic, and all of those wonderful attributes are now domiciled in I. The things money can't buy are the qualities I possess: discipline, persistence, all of those things, all of those wonderful traits that make a successful man. Conversely, if I waited, I asked myself this question before I move to the next point. If you were offered money in exchange of your intellect, all of these wonderful attributes, is it worth it? Exactly. Money is something you can get in a moment, within the snap of fingers, within seconds. The finances can be wired to your account. These attributes, however, they take discipline, dedication, effort, sacrifices, demands of consecrations unimaginable. Are you willing to give it up for pieces of paper? What is wrong with you? Then you perceive it from the error of omission. Had I not taken that 3 years to consecrate myself, sacrifice that era of my destiny to become a success and learn the various principles, as touching success, the retainment as well as the attainment, because they are two different things. Anybody can be a success, but the retainment is about the most difficult part of the equation. Success is different from finances, but they share similar principles because finances facilitate success. No matter what it is you're doing, finances account for a large portion of your life. It would be stupid to disregard something with such a magnitude of percentage on the pie chart. You might buy into dogma and false Christian principles that tout money is wrong, is the root of all evil, it is bad, rich people are evil. That's just cope. That's just cope. If you do not disregard that mindset, in fact, some of you hold these beliefs first because you're totally giving up on the subject. You never believe it's going to happen for you. You never believe one day you're going to be successful. It's not on the horizon. For some of you, there are individuals shielding you financially. You're still under your parents, you're still under someone. The consequence of your actions are not yet evident. My friend, disregard that philosophy. Displedge your allegiance to that wrong narrative and begin erring in the opposite direction as quick as possible. Because once you lose a family member and the financial burden falls on you, if that's not an aspect of your life you put into together, it will be painful. You will be suicidal. Trust me on that wise. But the point I'm trying to highlight on all of this is if you observe error of omission, had I not consecrated that aspect of my life, had I not given up sacrifices, there were people who said tons of things, ridicule, laugh, all of that. But I truly believe that the greats were ridiculed before they were revered. I would have spent the next years of my life regretting that I hadn't given up those years of my life. At the end of the day, you only have one life. Only have one life. Even if it doesn't work out, even if you fail, even if you get rejected, it's better you enjoy the pain or you deal with the pain that comes as a consequence of failure than inaction. Because failure, that you can forgive yourself. Inaction, not so much. It haunts you down to your death. And failure, if met with persistence, eventually leads to success. Which then begs the question, if you fail and succeed at the end, are you still a failure? Did you fail? Does those failure matter or do those failure matter? Exactly. I said before you life and death. I said before you blessings and curses. I cannot force you. I can only advise you. Choose life. Don't choose death. Choose life. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you when in the next one.